So for this project, you will need some polyfill stuffing. I'm using Lion Brand Woolies Thick and Quick yarn. This is a 5-ounce ball of yarn, which is plenty, and it's a weight size 6, super bulky. This particular color is Hudson Bay. I wanted to do it in orange, but the store was out of orange. Must be popular this time of year. This is an 8.00 millimeter crochet hook, sometimes known as an L or size 11. We're going to put a cinnamon stick at the top of our pumpkin. And if you want to keep track of your rows, you can get a pad and a pin for doing that. And you want a wide eye darning needle and some stitch markers and your scissors, of course. So let's get started. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start off with chaining 19. You don't need to leave a very long tail. This part, it's not going to be important. Later on, it is going to be important how long you leave the tail when we do the seam. But first you want to go ahead and do your slip knot, and you just bring it around like that. Bring that piece of yarn right through there. You can just stick your hook in, and then you've got your slip knot. If you don't know how to do a slip knot, I do have another video on that. Another way that I like to do it is to wrap it around 2 fingers, cross over, take my crochet hook, come into the front loop, grab that back piece of yarn, pull it through, and then just let your fingers fall out, and then just tighten it up. So go ahead and chain 19. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. And 17, 18, and 19. So you have your 19 stitches, and we have our V's. It's hard to tell with this multicolored yarn, but it's kind of in the shape of a V. Now we're going to do a half double crochets in the 3rd chain from the hook. So this is the 1st chain, 2nd, there's your 3rd chain. And to do a half double crochet, you pick up the yarn, you go into that chain, pick up your yarn again, pull it back through. You have 3 loops on your hook, pick up the yarn again, and you go through all 3. So that is your first half double crochet. I'm going to put a stitch marker in right here, and I'm going to go under both pieces of yarn. So we have a front loop and we have a back loop. Now we are going to continue all the way down to the end, doing our half double crochet, and we should have 17 half double crochets when we're done. So I'm down to my last one, my last half double crochet into my last chain, and if I measure what I've done so far, this comes out to be 8 inches. My measuring tape, and this yellow pumpkin, so we've got 8 inches here. This one came out to be 7 by 12.5, the finished rectangular size. And I don't know if I stitched tighter on this one, and that's why this one's 8 inches, but 7 or 8 inches is fine for the medium size. Okay, so now what you want to do is chain 2. So that's 1 and that's 2. And now you're going to turn your work. And you are going to go into the 3rd stitch from the hook. 1, 2, 3. And we are going to go ahead and do our half double crochet all the way across, but this time we are not going under both of them. We are going to do the back loop only. So this is your back loop, that's your front loop. So we're going to do the back loop only, half double crochets, and then when we turn our work and come back, we're going to do the front loop. So it's going to be repetitive, 1 row back loop and 1 row front loop. So go ahead and go into that 3rd stitch from the hook, go into the back loop, and do your half double crochet. I'll do one more, back loop only. Okay, and you want to do that all the way across, and you should have 17 stitches. Now I'm going to take another stitch marker, and that first half double crochet, I'm going to go ahead and put it under both pieces of yarn to keep track of where I am. And one reason I do this is I use a green one at one end, and I've been using the blue at the other end, because if I'm watching TV and I'm crocheting along, if I see the blue stitch marker on my left side, I know I'm going to be doing the back loop going this way. And then when I turn it this way and I have my green stitch marker on that side, I know I'm going to be doing the front loop. So you'll see once I get this turned around again. So, and this is what's going to give you your ridges, that ridges look, by doing these in the front loop and the back loop. So carry on, just go into the back loop only on this row. All right, and I will meet you down at the end. All right, I'm getting ready to do my last one, and if you need to take your stitch marker out to do it, go ahead if it gets in the way. So there's my last half double crochet in the back loop only. Now I'm going to chain 2. That's 1 and that's 2, and I'm going to turn my work. And now I'm going to do the front loop only. The 3rd stitch from the hook, front loop only, grab my yarn, go into that front loop, pick up the yarn, come back through, pick up the yarn, come back through again, take my stitch marker, move it up to that first half double crochet of this row, and continue on with the front loop only. Pull up the yarn. Now make sure you don't get confused on where you're at. So these are the stitches you're working into, the front loop. This wants to turn, and they look similar, but this V shape, the bottom of the V is on your left-hand side. Okay, so now we're going to go into this front loop here. Grab your yarn, go into the front loop, grab your yarn, come back through, grab your yarn, come back through, and I'm going to meet you down at the end again. Okay, I'm on my last stitch doing the front loop only. I'm going to do my half double crochet. Oops. Into that front loop. Okay, so now what I want to point out to you is I want you to do, aim for 12.5 inches once we finish going up here. So you're going to have to do, oh gosh, several more rows, 10 or more, and I want you to finish on a row where this tail and your working yarn are on the same side. So see, right now I'm going to be working back this way, and I'll finish up here, so my working yarn is going to be here and my tail here. But what I want you to do is finish up a row to where the working tail and the beginning tail are on the same side of your rectangle. So repeat rows 2 and 3, doing back loop only and front loop only, until you reach 12 to 13 inches long. Go ahead and continue on until you get about 12.5 inches, or 12 inches, or 13 inches. And I will meet you there. First, I'm going to go ahead and do my chain 2, and I'm going to turn it. And we are doing our back loop only, and I know this because I put my blue marker on my left side here as I'm working this way, so I know my blue marker means I'm on the back loop only. And again, 1, 2, 3, pull up the yarn, go through the back loop, pull up the yarn, come back through, and pull up the yarn and go through 3. Take my stitch marker, move it up, and I'm going to continue on, and I will meet you when I have reached 12, 12.5, or 13 inches. Okay, carry on. All right, so I finished my rectangle, and it is about 12 or 12.25 inches. And what we're going to do is fold it in half, and we're going to make a seam, stitch the 2 ends together. This is actually going to be the inside of our pumpkin. You have your ridges. You got the high, and then you got the low, high, low. The other side has a little bit more character. You have like a single line ridge and like a double line ridge. So it's got a little bit more character. We're going to make that the outside. All right, so we're just going to flip our rectangle over like this. And we're going to take the bottom, bring it up here. Now what I'm going to do with this working yarn here is kind of just move my hook around here like so. Okay, because I didn't want it in the front. You want this working yarn in the back. And you can take your stitch marker out. And what you're going to do is you're going to single crochet these 2 ends together all the way across. So the first thing you want to do is hold them together. It's going to be pretty much stitch by stitch. Just make sure it's even as you go along. I'm going to go into this first stitch right here. Just going to bring my hook right under there, and then underneath that stitch, grab my yarn, pull it through. I have 2 loops on the hook. Grab my yarn and pull it through. I'm going to do that with the next stitch. I'm just going to go right under here, and I'm going to go into that next stitch, pull up the yarn, bring it through, 2 loops on my hook, pull up the yarn and bring it through. One more time, go through that stitch, go through the back stitch, pull up the yarn, bring it through, pull up the yarn, bring it through. That's your single crochet. This is going to be our seam. This is going to be the inside of our pumpkin. We're going to turn it inside out once we finish doing the next step. So carry on, do your single crochets all the way down to the end. I'll meet you at the end. All right, so I finished my single crochet seam all the way across. I took my crochet hook out, and you want to pull enough yarn from your ball of yarn to 10 to 12 feet. And I did say feet, not 12 inches, because we're going to be using this yarn to finish up our project. All right. All right, so I've cut about 12 feet of yarn, and we're going to put our hook back in. I'm going to do just one little chain stitch, pull it like so, and pull your yarn all the way through. And the reason I say 10 to 12 feet is because it's always better to have more yarn than not enough, so you don't have to, tie on another piece of yarn to finish your project. So now we've done this, and now we're going to take our wide-eyed needle. We're going to take this yarn. We're going to weave it in and out right along the edge here, and then it's going to tighten up. So let me get my needle. All right, so I've got my needle threaded, just left a little bit of a tail right there, and we're going to start right here on the end, and we're going to just go right along the ridges here. We'll start right here, and we're going to pull our yarn through. It takes a little bit of time just because the yarn is so long. And come back through again. Just go along each of these raised ridges. Just stick your needle underneath and pull it through. Okay, I'm going to move over to the next ridge. Just pull it right through here. All right, and I want you to do that all the way around. And I'm going to meet you right back here where our seam is. So continue doing that all the way around. It's hard to see, but here is my stitch here, and I did finish up right here where I started, right on the seam. Now what you want to do is you're going to take the end and you're just going to pull it tight. Put your fingers through it, and it just cinches it right up. How about that? Okay, make sure you don't pull too tight. You don't want to break the yarn, but you want to pull it tight. And then you just take your needle and you just want to go through here. Any stitch will do. Next to your yarn, you just want to stitch this up so it stays closed. Okay. Just bring it through. And when you get down to a loop right here, I'm just going to put it through that loop to make it even more secure. It's just a little knot right there. Okay, there you go. All right, now we're going to turn this inside out, or right side out rather, and we're going to do the other end. So turn it right side out. We're going to go ahead and stuff it. This is a pretty one. Okay, so your little tail here, you can cut it a little bit shorter if you need to, or you can kind of weave it in a little bit, and we're just going to shove it right in there. Okay, and let's go ahead and stuff it next. And then once we stuff it, we will cinch it up tight. Okay, I've got my filling right here, and you just want to tear off some pieces a little bit at a time, and you want to just go ahead and stuff it right in there. Okay, and we're going to pretty much fill it to the top. You don't want it packed too tight, but you do want it so that it's going to be plump. So I think that should be good. I'm going to cinch this up. All right, and then we're going to make our ridges. Okay, so you want to do the same thing you did before, where we cinched up this end, and we'll go ahead and do that next. Here's my seam on the inside. I'm just going to go into the ridges and just pull it through, just like we did before. It looks like I didn't need 12 feet, but I still might. And I'm just going to go into, it's every, from here to there, from here to there, wherever will help to cinch it up. You can do it closer if you prefer. So just go all the way around, come back down to our seam, and I'll meet you down here. All the way around, I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm just going to hold it between the two fingers and just pull it tight. Okay. There you go. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our yarn, and every couple of inches we're going to go into the other end, bring the needle all the way through, and I'll do the first one here. And you can place this wherever you want. If you want to place it in the same spot, like I have this ridge here, you can do it next to it in the middle. You can just move it, put it wherever you want. But this first one I'm going to put right here. It doesn't really matter. And you want to push this through. I don't know if they make longer darning needles, but you have to feel for it because this is the medium size. The large pumpkin is a little bit harder to do with this size needle. But again, I don't know if I've seen them any bigger than this, possibly so. So you just want to pull that through. Hence the reason why I cut 12 feet of yarn. Okay, so there it is, and I'm just going to tighten it up, pull it tight. This is going to give our pumpkin the shape that we want. And pull it to your liking. Okay, so there is that piece there, and I'm just going to come down again, and I think I'm going to come right here and put it back through the bottom and come out the other end. And this is another reason why you don't want to pack it, the polyfill too tight, because it's hard to get the needle through. I made that mistake. Okay, so you want to just keep doing this all the way around. Okay. You do want to make sure that your line is straight as you're pulling it tight and it's not crooked, like going in that direction. Okay, so again, I'm pulling it tight. All right, the pumpkin is beginning to take shape. Just keep going around. All right, and I will meet you after we finish this section. Finishing it up, and I like the shape, and I'm going to finish it off. You can to make sure that the yarn doesn't come through, you can also make a loop, tie it, so if you want to hang it up somewhere you can, or you can do what I'm going to do, and I'm going to take a cinnamon stick and I'm going to stick it in here and just use my glue gun, and I'm going to go ahead and do one more little stitch right here. I'm just going to go under here, and I'm going to go under this side, and this is where you can also make your loop. And I'm going to tighten this up. I'm just going to go back through this loop here so that'll be nice and secure. Okay. All right. That should be good. And I'm going to go ahead and take my glue gun and I'm going to glue this in place. All right, there it is. There's your fall pumpkin. You can tie a ribbon around it. You can have it without the ribbon. It looks fine either way. And I want to thank everyone for watching, and please subscribe if you haven't already. I do have other videos and more to come. Thanks again.